Nama Rupe, the name and form. Guna, with attributes. Janma, appearance. Karma bihi, activities or pastimes. Nirupatavye, are not able to be ascertained. Tava, your. Tasya, of him. Sakshinaha, who is the direct observer. Manaha, of the mind. Vachobhyam, words. Anumeya, hypothesis. Vartmanaha, the path. Deva, O Lord. Kriyayam, in devotional activities. Pratiyanti, they realize. Ata api, still. He, indeed, you can be realized by the devotees. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. O Lord, your transcendental name and form are not ascertained by those who merely speculate on the path of imagination. Your name, form, and attributes can be ascertained only through devotional service. Purport. As stated in the Padma Purana, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyaihi sevon mukehi jikhvadav swayam eva spurati adaha. One cannot understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through one's materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Since Krishna and his transcendental name, form, and activities are all of a transcendental nature, ordinary persons or those who are slightly advanced cannot understand them. Even big scholars who are non-devotees think that Krishna is fictitious. Yet although so-called scholars and commentators do not believe that Krishna was factually a historical person whose presence on the battlefield of Kurukshetra is recorded in the history of Mahabharata, they feel compelled to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita and other historical records. Sevon muke hijikhvadav swayam eva spurati adaha. Krishna's transcendental name, form, attributes, and activities can be revealed only when one engages in his service in full consciousness. This confirms Krishna's own words in Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gnatva vishate tadanantaram. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as He is only by devotional service. And when one in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Only by sevon mukha, by engaging oneself in the Lord's service, can one realize the name, form, and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The purport is very long, so we'll have some discussion on this and then we'll read the rest of the purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येनं तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। O Lord, your transcendental name and form are not ascertained by those who merely speculate on the path of imagination. Your name, form, and attributes can be ascertained only through devotional service. So we see here the prayers being offered by the demigods for the Lord who has appeared in the womb of Devaki. So this is highlighting a very important aspect of our spiritual understanding. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was touring South India, he went on a big tour of all the important places of pilgrimage, and he was preaching along the way. He first goes down to Andhra Pradesh and then to Tamil Nadu and Kerala and Karnataka and comes back Maharashtra and all that. So he was visiting Sri Rangam, the very famous Tirthasthan, and where the wonderful deities of Ranganatha. So in Sri Rangam, there was he met some great devotees, and one of the devotees that left a big impression on him was a Brahmana who was sitting in the courtyard of the temple and reading the Gita. So, he observed that he was sitting there and intently reading the Gita, and then there were tears flowing from his eyes. And people around him, though, were mocking him and making fun of him. And we observed closer, he saw that this Brahmana had the Gita upside down. Right? And he was, looking at the pages, and there were tears flowing from his eyes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approached him and said, hey, I have been observing you. You're keeping the Gita in your hands, and people are actually making fun of you because you're keeping it upside down. May I ask you what you're trying to do? Then the Brahmana said, see, I am an illiterate Brahmana, but my spiritual master asked me to read the Gita every day. So I'm trying to hold this Gita, and I'm trying to follow my spiritual master's instructions. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, why are you crying though? Why are the tears in your eyes? He said, when I'm looking at this Gita, immediately I'm reminded of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, becoming the charioteer for Arjuna. Charioteer, it seems that when you're actually driving a chariot, especially in the battlefield, You can imagine it's a very chaotic situation, right? And so, how do you communicate to the chariot driver what to do, how to go, right? So they had a little fly-by-wire technology. So the person who is on the chariot, because he is standing and the charioteer is a little bit lower, he would tap the person on their shoulder with their leg, it seems. If you tap the right side, okay, go right. Tap the left side, it will go left. So this was an expected norm. But here, the person who is being tapped is the Supreme Personality of God. Right? But Krishna is willfully accepting to do this. He lovingly wants to serve his devotee, Arjuna. And so thinking of that, this Brahmana had tears in his eyes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraces him and says, "You are the only person who has really understood the true essence of the Gita." So we see here, it is not the erudite scholarship of the Brahmana that made him understand the essence of the Gita. Right? And it is not that there was some very complicated philosophical treatise in a particular sloka that he was trying to understand. Right? We see many times in Chaitanya Charitamrita also we hear of the discussions with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and many of these scholars who came to debate with him and all that. One word or one verse they will debate for days and days. This is this, this is that, and this how it can be done. And lot of debate of deep, philosophical understanding, grammar, grammatics, the way the words are presented and all that. But that was not what was being conveyed over here. Very simple message. But that simple message sums up the essence of spiritual life itself. When Srila Prabhupada started the movement, you all know that it was started here in the US. And Prabhupada would very fondly remember his times in Vrindavan, in Radha Damodar temple, and all the wonderful places and of pilgrimage in India, and India in general being a place of spiritual understanding and people having a more refined way of life. And so his disciples were all very excited to go to India. Right? And they would go to Vrindavan. And later, even after Prabhupada started, having a temple there, during that time when they were establishing the temple and all that, even the initial disciples who went to India, they would go and try to meet these different, Babajis. They would go there, and those Babajis would take opportunity of, seeing these foreign disciples who would come in Indian dress, right? So it would have been considered very prestigious to be preaching to these Angrezi, devotees. And so they would tell them, this esoteric subject matter, that one, read this book, and that give them some books. And in fact, there were many of them. They would talk about, see, you all got Harinam Diksha and all this. This is all okay, initial level. But if you really want to advance, I'll give you a different Diksha. Right? Anybody knows what Diksha they used to give? Yeah, this is called Siddha Pranali. Means, just like initiation is such an important thing, right? On that day, you are given your spiritual name. Right? It's a rebirth for you. Right? It said that initiation means now Krishna, uh, so the Guru is the father, and the scriptures are the mother, and you're getting a second birth. So the Siddha Pranali was like taking it to the next level. You are being revealed. What is your true form in the spiritual world? Right? They would say, oh, you are this Manjari in Goloka Vrindavan, and you are part of Radharani's camp or Vishaka's camp or this and that. And, in fact, they would even go one more step. These people would do Rasalila on that in the night. And many of these unscrupulous people would take advantage and engage in all kinds of illicit activities in the name of this Rasalila. So Prabhupada was very, very disapproving of this. Right? And he would say, don't waste your time meeting all these people. Just read my books. And at that time there was only small books. You don't even need all this complicated literature. Just read one page of my book. If you take one page of my book and just read it every day, you will reach spiritual perfection. That is the reality. Because it is not about the variegatedness of our understanding, but it is about understanding the true essence of what is being told, and most importantly, applying that in our lives. Right? We see nowadays there's a lot of trend of people wanting to read the books of the previous acharyas. And there's always some excitement. Oh, this book I read, and this, and then they want to talk about it and this thing. See, the reality is, what do you think is happening over there? Why does it seem so exciting for people to read these books? Anybody wants to share? Yes. Yeah, see, I know more things than you. I want to tell you new things. It's more of the rasa of I have knowledge and I want to explain this to you. And people are also very interested. They want to hear some new version of explaining some things and new understanding. But the reality is, none of this actually helps you in your spiritual path. That's why if you hear Prabhupada's lectures, right, or even if you read Prabhupada's translations, almost the same concept is being told in 10 different ways. And in fact, the same way Prabhupada will repeat again, same sloka he will quote, and give the same message, because that message is actually very simple. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Right? That's all you really need to know. You don't really need to know anything beyond that. Everything else is just a way to engage your time and energy in the Lord's service. Right? So, if we can actually just sit and chant Hare Krishna nicely and be always engaged in doing that, we don't need to do anything else. No, but the reality is that we can only do that for a certain amount of time. Chanting Hare Krishna is the highest form of sadhana, it's the highest form of service, it's the highest form of realization of the Supreme Lord, it's the highest form of expression of prema, bhava, all these higher levels of interacting with the Lord. But reality is we cannot do that. Right? During Prabhupada's time itself, there were devotees who would go to this Radha Kund and say, "Oh, I'm going to sit in Radha Kund and I will chant 64 rounds." They would even imitate Haridas Thakur. I'll chant 3 lakh times. And Prabhupada was very, very disapproving of that. Right? He said, you can't even chant 16 rounds properly. Within those 16 rounds itself, your mind is going everywhere. What is the drama you're doing of chanting? Just to attract cheap attention and adoration from people. From other cheap people. You see, no serious person will go and adore somebody who's just doing this for drama, because some of these are apparent. So, we need to understand what is it that actually converts our gnana into vijnana. That is why in the Shastras there is description of 2 different forms of understanding something. The first form we all know, we have gnana. We read the book, we try to understand, and we can sometimes even explain what this means. Some people are there, who are gifted with ability to talk, or some people understand Sanskrit better. They're able to say, no, this word means like this, this is what it's trying to say. You can say all those things, you can try to convey the meaning of those words. Right? So then what is vijnana? How does vijnana differ from gnana? Yes, Mataji. Through experience you get it. It's almost like in college when you were studying, there was theory and there were practicals. Is that what really it is? Realized knowledge. What does that mean though? Somebody is trying to help us understand. Yeah, the actual part is implementing it in our lives. How do we live by that principle? It is very easy to do lip service. It is very difficult to actually follow these things. Right? Krishna is telling, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. What does that mean? Right? If you truly have to give up all forms of religion and just surrender unto me, right? How do you think it will manifest in a person's actions, in a person's day-to-day activities? Right? Somebody who says, see, I'm not going to rely on this my material abilities, my knowledge and my job and my wealth, all these things, because we have all this, my family and all these different things we have. No, but I'm going to give up everything and fully surrender unto the Supreme Lord. Right? Now, Prabhupada created a way for doing that. Right? Depending on Varna and Ashrama, especially when Prabhupada initially started, there was only one way of practicing spiritual life, which was everybody joined the temple. Right? They joined the temple and they completely gave up everything. And, some of them were, many of them were married, because most of them, when went to Prabhupada, they were already having boyfriend, girlfriend. Prabhupada said, okay, you both are together, now you get married and practice devotional life. Right? We see in the initial days, they were just married, they had a small baby, Shyam Sundar Prabhu and what is Mataji's name? Malati Mataji, right? Saraswati was just 3 months old. And Prabhupada said, go to London. And they took the small baby and went to London. There was no place they were going to. Nobody knew what that. They didn't have any connections over there. They didn't know anybody over there. They didn't even have money to come back. They had only money for one-way ticket, to go to London. But they just followed Prabhupada's instructions and went. When devotees practice spiritual life and work for the mission of Prabhupada, of the spiritual master, following his instructions, there is a divine reciprocation. There is a very spiritual reciprocation of the Lord. And that reciprocation is not just in a gross material sense, it is the purification that happens in one's heart. So, the true realization is not lip service, but how do you engage 24/7 in the service of the Lord? If you really do introspection and analyze our own lives and our own activities, we will see that we have so many dependencies. One day, if you're, like yesterday morning, one of my, because there's a lot of noise in this street, in the night time especially, because there's just one plane of glass. Big vehicles pass through in the night, and the whole thing shakes and you can hear very loudly. So I usually have my noise cancelling headsets and I sleep with them in the night. So one of them just fell off the ear, which very rarely happens. And then I was woken up at 12:30 in the morning through some vehicle was going. And then I was woken up, and the next half an hour, 1 hour, I could not go back to sleep immediately. And I thought, okay, let me do some service at least, and I started, working on something. 1.5 hours, 2 hours went by. And then by the time I really got some sleep again, and it was already time for waking up for Mangalarti. And so I didn't get enough sleep, and so my whole day and that morning was not my usual normal day. Simple small things like that can impact our ability to do things and our actions. That I'm giving a very simple example, but if you look at our lives, we need so many things to keep our spiritual life. This has to happen, that has to be there, that has to be there, and small things get disturbed, we get disturbed. But we should look at the Goswamis. They had everything in this world. They had name, fame, big position, so much wealth, so much opulence. And they had, in that situation, they were also very highly Krishna conscious. Not that, they were not Krishna conscious over there, and that is why they had to give up. But they were so eager to give up everything to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And when they went to the Vrindavan, they had nothing. They were just living under a tree, different day, and practicing spiritual life. We should take inspiration. Jai Srila Prabhupada. From the Goswamis, from Srila Prabhupada himself. He had such a favorable situation for him in Vrindavan, being in Radha Damodar temple. Prabhupada used to call that Radha Damodar temple is the center of the spiritual universe. He is right there in the temple, living right there and having a very peaceful life. Also doing his translation, writing his books, because that was his main mission. Everything was going on. But he wanted to preach Krishna consciousness. He wanted to follow his spiritual master's instruction of preaching in the Western world, and gave up everything and came to the US. In the initial few years was such a difficult situation. We are reading Prabhupada's letters, and we are reading in 1967. There was an attempt to buy one property in New York, and this house, it was a very nice building. There was a basement and then 2 levels, nicely suited for temple, and arrangements were made. And they had also gathered, $5,000 as deposit. And $5,000 in 1967, it must be like maybe $100,000, $200,000 now. Right? It's not small. It's a very big sum. At least 70, 80,000, maybe more than that. If you just do the math, I think it will be more, much, much more than that. And there was a real estate agent and all these people involved, and those people cheated the devotees. Yeah? After this thing, because Prabhupada was in San Francisco, and they were trying to negotiate, and only means of communication was letters. They were sending something and this thing. Once in a while there were some phone calls. And anybody would have seen that, oh my God, I'm trying to do something nice and this thing, and with great difficulty devotees have collected money. And now that money is being taken away. Right? But they didn't lose heart, and they continued, and you see the reciprocation they got later from that. So we see here that devotional life, Prabhupada is quoting in the purport, the Padma Purana, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi, Na Bhaved Grahyam Indriyehi, Sevon Mukehi Jihvadau, Swayam Eva Spurati Adaha. When we engage in intense devotional service, Spurati Adaha, like this Brahmana was intensely reading, with the book upside down, but the Lord is revealing the true essence of the Gita in his heart. Similarly, Krishna and Prabhupada will reveal the true essence of devotional life, the true essence of the spiritual subject matters in our heart, and we can engage nicely in the Lord's service. Okay. We'll stop here. Anybody has any questions or comments? No questions? Yes, what's the question? Huh? Oh, you only have raised hand. Huh? Grantraj Srimad Bhagvatam ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Bol Premanande.